Hello, my name is Nadia Denton. I'm a film curator based in London. On behalf of CineDB Insights, I'm delighted to introduce this interview, which is part of the CineDB Africa Conversation Series, a collection of in-depth encounters with film professionals from across the African continent and wider international industry. CineDB Africa, supported by the Goethe Institute, now has a new home on the e-portal of the Durban Film Mart. Today, I am joined by Zsuzsi, Head of Open Doors at the Locarno Film Festival. Thanks so much for being with us today, Zsuzsi.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So can you tell us about what the Locarno Open Doors initiative is?
Yes. So the Open Doors is a program which is part of the Locarno Film Festival. It's a program which is designed for filmmakers, which has less access to resources about filmmaking and film studying. And we have a regional focus. Usually it's shifted every 3 years. Last 6 years we were in Asia, South Asia and Southeast Asia and Mongolia, and now we shifted last year to Latin America and the Caribbean. And in 2025 we are moving to a new region. It's a workshop, it's a co-production platform, screening platform, and creative platform for filmmakers and creative producers. So basically we have these 3 initiatives, which is called the Projects Hub, which is the co-production platform where we select 8 projects with the director and the producer in a bit more advanced stage of development. And after some mentoring, they can go through the co-production meetings and find the strategy and hopefully the right producer for this. The idea is that we select projects which are more eligible for international co-productions. We have a producers lab where we create a workshop, a space for creative producers living and working in the region, and trying to give them some ideas about how to develop their career, how to become a bit more involved creatively in the filmmaking process, how to work together with the director, and how to create certain developments in their region, and how to create spaces for directors and producers. We have the Open Door screenings and a very brand new initiative, which we don't have the name yet, but it will be announced soon, which is a creative space for the directors invited for the screenings. This is part of the official program of the festival, but it's not a competition. It's a curated program. We screen films from the region from the last couple of years. And we invite the directors to take part of a workshop, which is more based on creative inspiration for them, and they can also benefit from the other initiatives of the film festival. Apart from that, we have a year-round program. So basically the whole Open Doors is a year-round program, and we have activities through the whole year, mostly online, but sometimes on site, and traveling to the region, creating spaces for filmmakers on site, and also online. We will have now some on the 3rd of May. We will have an online program for directors where they can meet. We have a consultancy program, which is also an online consultancy with 1 call per year, where filmmakers which has a project a bit less developed maybe can apply for writing, audience design, legal, career development as a producer, editing, and distribution. and they can have a 5 hours consultancy with an international expert. And we also have an online learning platform, which is available for the whole world, which is called the Toolbox.
Thank you for that really comprehensive overview. So just to be clear, from what you were saying, is the engagement over a year's period of time for the filmmakers who participate?
It's yes, and also it's not only for the filmmakers who participate in the program, but basically the year-round program is eligible for basically all the filmmakers from the region who would like to engage with the program.
Okay, and in terms of the engagement from those filmmakers in the region, are they able to apply? Is it open selection, or is it that they are nominated? How does that work?
Yes, everyone is able to apply who has a feature project as a director or as a producer.
Okay.
And I think mainly the requirement is to have a little bit of experience. So maybe to have like 1 or 2 short films already produced, directed. So it's good if there is something already to show.
Brilliant. And on average, how many participants do you tend to have? So what is the size of the sort of participant pool?
So in general, I think we work with, if I don't count the Toolbox, because on the Toolbox we have almost 2,000 members, and we work with them regularly. But if I don't count that, we work around 150, 200 filmmakers a year. From that, over 40 is invited to Locarno in the summer. 30 of them are selected or longlisted for the consultancy, but all who is longlisted for the consultancy gets some kind of help. And we have a hotline and special hotline where we select some filmmakers who contact us, and we are also working with them through the artistic team. So it's about 150, 200 filmmakers.
Right, those are quite good numbers. So what would you say are some of the successes that the initiative has achieved in recent years? What should be a motivator for some of the filmmakers watching this to think, okay, well, if I get involved with Open Doors, it can do this or this for my career? Because I'm sure there are many of them who are watching this who may have never heard of it, or might think, gosh, a year is a long time. You know, what am I really going to get from that?
Most of the time, if we select a filmmaker and work with the filmmaker, they can make their next step. So if they participate in the consultancy, for example, now we have one person who participated in the consultancy in 2020, and now he is selected in Cannes with his movie. But okay, this is an exception in a way, but most of the time they can make the next step. They can participate in a workshop. They can be selected for another workshop. This is the consultancy. If it's Open Doors, because it's really selective and we really make a selection, usually they can really develop the project. So they can find co-producers, they can find funds, they can really move forward with the projects. Most of the actually quite a lot of the projects participated in Open Doors are in Cannes now. We have 4 or 5 projects from 2019, 2020, and most of the time they are selected for Venice or Locarno or some of the bigger festivals.
That's really
so that's encouraging, I think.
It is. And I would imagine Locarno Open Door is probably very similar to a lot of the international sort of film schemes, which are highly competitive. So are there any tips that you might give to filmmakers about standing out? You know, just in terms of when they're making these submissions, because I know for a lot of them, it can be quite taxing. You know, they're kind of in their creative headspace, and then they have to almost become a bureaucrat to, you know, complete these applications and submissions. So any suggestions that you might give on standing out in making a strong submission?
So first of all, just to make sure that Locarno Open Doors is highly competitive, one part, but the other part is highly inclusive. I think what I could give an advice to the filmmakers, and I think really this is one of the most important, which most of the time I see the biggest mistake, so-called, that a lot of people, they are not reading the regulations and the guidelines and how to apply. So I think we are really trying to make sure that people understand what is there, and we are doing a lot of webinars. Also on the toolbox, we have a lot of materials, so I can encourage the filmmakers to sign up and look at those materials, how to create an application, what are the to-dos and not to-dos. Most of the time, this is the biggest problem, that that people are not reading properly the documents, and I think if this is read, then and I also think that what is very important, like a little advice from me, that each applications are different and individual. And I think most of the people are highly appreciate if that application is really made for that program,
Yeah.
and not for another program. And I also think that most of the time selection committees, they see if there is an effort made with an application, and they usually appreciate that.
Okay, that's great. That's helpful. And what advice would you give about how our filmmakers in the early stages of their career should advance to the next stage? Because this is a challenge that I observe with a lot of the filmmakers I work with, where they may have made shorts, or, you know, they have a lot of sort of conceptual ideas, but making that jump to their first feature. And then even sometimes when they make their first feature, they kind of sort of exist in this no man's land where you're sort of starting out and you can't quite get to the next stage of maybe getting those bigger opportunities, but the keenness is there, the energy and the talent is there. So any suggestions that you might give about navigating that space?
I think it's a very difficult question, actually, because first of all, to make a first film, it's extremely difficult.
Mm.
There is only one thing more difficult than that, to make the second film. So I think, first of all, I would give this advice that you are not alone. It's the same for everyone, I think. There are those lucky few who can easily navigate, but most of the people cannot. I would say, first of all, watch a lot of films. Check everything what is in the festival. Try to understand the selections, what is good, what is not. So develop yourself on the artistic level. I think another advice is to be curious and always ask questions, and never dare to ask questions, and talk to people, and try to understand what people are saying, who are a little bit more experienced or who has some ideas, because everyone is saying different things, but to understand the context of that, I think it can also bring people to the next step. And the other advice is to learn how to deal with rejections, because and learn how to learn from rejections, because I think rejections are as important as being accepted, and most of the time you will be rejected, and this is also very normal. But to understand why, you can make the next step.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. And certainly that point about taking the rejections, there is a kind of emotional space you have to be prepared to hold yourself in as a filmmaker or creative at large, you know, dealing with that rejection and just the difficulties of when you're creatively minded and you're kind of having to deal with capitalist and more commercial orientated structures. So yeah, that's really helpful. And very lastly, kind of, I suppose, touching on that point about you know, dealing with rejection and just being prepared overall. Any suggestions you might give about how filmmakers might sustain themselves. Because, you know, if we look at the world in general, you know, so much trouble and strife and difficulty. Obviously, lots of economies are going through challenges. There's not necessarily in some parts of the world as much money as there may have been before, you know, to make film, or even people who are operating in quite oppressive or restrictive environments politically. Any particular thoughts or comments that you might want to share in that regard?
I think this is very much connected to the previous advice to understand the whole industry and what kind of selections are made and what kind of projects are selected. So to watch films and go to the cinema or try to watch films on the phone, on the computer, on the however you can access to movies, try to access. I think there are possibilities now, and understand the creative needs of the world in a way. But I think my suggestion is, and this is what I hear most of the time, that most of the people who are in the in selection committees everywhere in the world, they want to be surprised. They are looking for I think new stories, something else, something different, and they want to. They are not necessarily looking for the usual ways of filmmaking. Of course, there are exceptions of that too. So I think be original. That's my advice.
Lovely. And then just very finally, you mentioned at the beginning of the interview that the Open Doors operates in a regional basis. So I understand that currently the region of focus is Latin America and the Caribbean. Can you just confirm when that focus is running until? And certainly I understand that there is a sort of hope or possibility that Africa will be a region sort of in the next couple of years.
I think because Africa is in the radar for long, so we don't know yet what's going to be the next region, but obviously Africa is one of the possibilities that we are looking at. And the next region, the shift will be from the beginning of 2025.
Okay.
And we don't know yet to where, but I think mid next year we will know definitely more. Okay,
so that basically means that for any filmmakers from the Caribbean or Latin American region watching this, they can participate up until the beginning of 2025.
Yes, and also I'm super welcoming for the African filmmakers if they sign up for a newsletter and if they want to come to any of our online webinar and meetings. It's definitely eligible for them. And also if they want to meet with the Latin American and Caribbean filmmakers, very welcome.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Zsuzsi. So I'm very much hoping that people who are watching this are going to be able to get some takeaways. It certainly seems that the toolbox is something that can be quite beneficial, even if they don't want to necessarily take a deep dive into the scheme itself, but even just to get some advice that will help them to navigate their way through the industry. So yeah, very grateful for all that you've shared with us today.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would encourage all the filmmakers to sign up for the toolbox because they can see a lot of information which might be helpful for them.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.